to Singer Spirit. Today is all about posture and posture for the breathing. And I think that most of us have somewhere to go in our minds if somebody says stand up straight. We can find something like that, you know. I would compare the posture that I'm asking for to Tadasana in yoga, mountain pose, in a lot of ways. But the posture that I'm going to be teaching today specifically is for singers and for singing. But it's also, singers stand that way because it's the best way to stand for the breath. So it's different than, for example, a beautiful balletic posture. You're going to see my tummy go out, which is what it needs to do to get a good breath, for example. But the importance of posture, the analogy that I make with my students is that if you want to sound like a piano, you have to be shaped like a piano. If you want to sound like a guitar, you have to be shaped like a guitar. Singers are unique among musicians because we are the instrumentalist, but we are also the instrument. And so today is about crafting your instrument into a certain shape, into a shape that will help you to breathe better, to breathe more fully, to breathe more easily. And so please, if you've not done so already, put some comfortable clothing on and position your computer, your phone, your device, whatever you're watching on, in such a way that it can be eye level basically with you as you, for example, lie down on the floor or stand up. So just get ready to do that before we begin. And I'll repeat a couple of things that have been said about the posture already. And one is that you really do want, just be slightly crude if you don't mind, the butt is behind the lungs. Get those lungs in front of your sits bones, because it's simply that they will function better and the muscles of the diaphragm will function better if that is the case. Breathe on me, breath of God, fill me with life anew, that I may love what thou dost love, and do what thou wouldst do. That is a hymn by Edwin Hatch, and I thought it was a nice way to start off this belly breathing video. And this is the Oxford Dictionary's book of quotations. It's heavy, which makes it nice for this exercise, which is for getting in touch with your natural belly breathing. And let's see, for this exercise, really the purpose is very simple and it's somewhat modest, but it's simple but not easy for everyone. So be sensitive if you're a voice teacher. This is not easy for everyone. And what you're trying to do essentially is just kinesthetically, emotionally, physically help the student contact their belly and feel how it feels when they have a relaxed breath. When they breathe in, the belly goes out. When they exhale, the belly goes in. Okay? So, and that's not so much that you're breathing into your belly or anything like that. It's simply that when you breathe in, the lungs fill with air, the diaphragm muscle goes down and essentially pushes the belly out. And when you exhale, the diaphragm muscle goes up, and that can allow the belly to come in. And as singers, we tend to pull the belly in on the exhalation to control the exhalation to make it Beautiful. Okay? And I just heard a lovely description of the diaphragm that I want to share. I did hear it from Jean McClellan, and there will be links to her stuff on my website. And she was talking about the diaphragm. Part of the function of the diaphragm was to massage the organs. So as it goes down, it does massage these abdominal organs. As it goes up, it massages the lungs and the heart. So it's a very important muscle, and I have other videos that we're going to talk about the shape of it and specifics like that. But this is really just to make contact with the belly. And why don't we all have contact with the belly all the time? Because we are stressed out and we're traumatized and we are trained sometimes. People are trained to pull the belly in. So if you're a voice teacher and a beautiful dancer walks into your studio, they are going to have some challenges just simply because they have been trained to stand in a certain posture, which includes the belly being in pretty much all the time. So that can be a challenge. But it's a wonderful exercise. It generally feels nice. And I just want to say, if I haven't made it clear before, this is not an exercise to push the book out, push it down, push it up, push it any old way at all, okay? For me, the benefit of this exercise, and it really doesn't have, this is a ridiculously big book, but I have a big belly, so I'm comfortable with it. But it can be a smaller book, depends on the student, okay? But the book is just to help bring the mind's attention there, all right? So let me review the posture of how to do it so that we're clear on that. I'll move this book out of the way for a minute. And what you want to do is you want to have your feet flat, knees bent, and down you go. And one important thing to observe is the lower back. So we all have some degree of natural curve in the lower back, but you don't want it to be exaggerated for this. And I'm sorry if the audio is not terrific while I'm down here. I'll see later how that is. But for this exercise, start with your natural curve. Maybe place your hand under there to feel what that is. Move your hand away. Let your arms flop to the sides. And just see if gravity wants to lessen that curve at all. All right? I'm not telling you to tuck the pelvis and press the lower back into the floor, although that feels pretty good if your lower back is a little tired, which mine is, tired from sitting. But anyway, I don't want an overtuck for this exercise. I want as much as possible, the earth is doing the work for you on this exercise. Gravity is holding up your body. So gravity right now is letting my lower back be pretty close to the floor, honestly. And then I'm going to place the book here, and I'm just going to breathe in, breathe out. And you know, you can do it in any way that feels good, honestly. I'm going to breathe in. Let me get the book. And now that I'm here, I'm going to breathe in and out and just allow the book to go up and down as gravity wants it to. For a student who has a smaller belly, and they do exist, especially the dancers, this can be hard because the book is probably going to be on the hip bones, you know, and if it goes up here, it might even touch the rib cage. And where's the actual belly contact? So you might want to try a smaller book or a lighter book just to place it, or hold it slightly and place it here and breathe in. Place it right on the center, which is right below the belly button. About 3 fingers down from the belly button and 3 fingers in. So place the book right on that center of centers. And down it goes. So that's all there is to that exercise. But as I started off by saying, it's simple but not easy. I really would like to include in this video a caution for voice teachers and an encouragement for voice teachers to be gentle with this exercise and be careful. So it's not a first lesson exercise, in my opinion. It's really not. Do it the third day, the fourth day, once they've developed some trust for you and you've had a chance to read the person to a degree, and you're going to ask them to lie down on the floor, first of all, so you have to vacuum, if you have dogs like me. But also, much more seriously, if somebody's not in touch with their belly, there can be a very good reason. Like I said, we do have trauma in our bodies, and when I studied, method acting, the first thing that they teach you is the whole sense memory of method acting comes from the fact that all of our memories are in our bodies. They're here. I remember everything that happened to me somewhere. My knee remembers it, my quadricep remembers it, etc. So for the belly, and a lot of us hold a lot of tension in our tummies. And if somebody really doesn't want to breathe there, if you're a voice teacher and somebody really doesn't want to go there, I hate that expression, but I'm going to use it, there's a reason, and be gentle and be careful. So introduce it as is appropriate and caring for the student. And, it's kind of a shame that this is a beginner's, air quotes, beginner's exercise, because that felt really good just now to do it again. And I think there's a lot of benefit in some of these exercises that we did early in our studies, and so it's nice to return to them. So thanks for watching. I think I'll breathe instead of read. That's better right about now. And I'm not even going to use the book. So there. To help you find a few ways to locate your back breathing. And I couldn't get the video to be in the right position for all the things that I wanted to do, so I have to talk to you bent over like this. But this is the first exercise that I do for back breathing with a student, is when we do the breathing exercise, which, as I may have mentioned, is like the third or fourth lesson. Depends on the person, but usually third or fourth lesson, we do a full lesson on breathing. So what you want to do is you want to have the students stand and kind of hang over, and don't make them just hang all their body weight, and don't let them lock their knees. So the knees are bent, and then the student's going to hang over, and they're going to have some support down there, just so it's not too scary, okay? So I have these yoga blocks, but you could use other things. Chairs, often a chair is right for a lot of people. And then what I do as the teacher is I would put my hands right here. But for our purposes, and I'm actually recording these videos while a lot of us are in quarantine, you can do this yourself. Place your hand with your fingers pointing right toward the spine. And where you want them really is right below your bottom rib and right above your hip. So here are my hands, and then what I'm going to do, and now that my hands are here, I can hang my head, okay? But I still say, give the student some support in front of them. It may just be psychological, but it's helpful. So once my hands are here on myself or on a student, if it's a student, I would say, breathe into my hands, and you breathe in through the nose always. And you try to feel the expansion there as you breathe in. I'm going to dump all that air now. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. That air be gone. Okay, breathing in through the nose. I'm going to breathe into my hands. Oh, that feels so good. And I do feel the expansion, but it's very hard to feel. Or no, that was really dumb to do it this way. It's hard to feel that breathing space when you are standing upright. But if you do that first, then you can try to carry it with the student, have them stand up slowly and remind themselves occasionally. So another thing you can do is to go down like we did on the belly breathing. And here what you want to do is use the floor, and no book on the belly this time, just hands on your belly, and feel your lower back and try to breathe that same area. So it's above the hips and below the ribs. Try to breathe that area into the floor. And feel the floor against that part of yourself. One more time, breathing into the floor. And out. It's nice to do a lot of exercises lying flat on the floor, and also there are some that you can do lying on your belly, which are also nice. So that's another way to get in touch with the breathing into the back. And when I say back, I really mean the middle back. The upper back is a little easier to contact because if you're feeling the expansion of the ribs and stuff like that, then you can get pretty comfortable feeling an expanded upper back. But the middle real estate, which is very valuable for singing and for living, if you're recovering from pneumonia, and that's where you have, not that you should be doing these if you're seriously ill. Obviously, all the videos I'm sharing, I'll say this again and again, do them as it is safe for you to do so, especially the ones when your head is below your heart. So if you have high blood pressure, glaucoma, or any other condition that makes you really prone to dizziness or a problem having your head below your heart, please don't do these. This one is just the last one I'm going to show you, and it's just another way to feel that back breath. And what you do is you lie over something like this. This is not very soft, actually. It looks like a pillow, but it's not a pillow. It's pretty sturdy. And I lie over it. I fold my arms, let my head hang. And now what is happening now is that my front body is pretty immobilized by this thing. So you have to find, sturdy pillows or something that just feels pretty supportive. You could use a chair, but put a pillow on it, or a bench or something. But anyway, something about like this. And you're going to stretch over it like this. And then leaving the front ribs where they are, you're going to try again. And actually, I don't know why I have my legs up. Let your legs come down like this. So you're not working any part of your body at all except for this part. All right, and again, I'm going to try to breathe into that middle, lower real estate. Okay, so it can be done. You can and should breathe into your back. As that video that I watched recently, that was a doctor talking about breath work to recover from respiratory illness, and he was saying that most of your lungs is back there. So we don't want to skip this step. We do want to figure out how we can breathe back there. And also for singers, what it really does is it helps the front body be a little more sort of open and soft, which I think allows for greater expression. And eventually, once you have all the angles working as a singer, it also helps with appoggia, that leaning feeling, to have that expansion in the back. So. The singer's posture, this was first taught to me by my teacher, Untitled, who was a wonderful voice teacher here in San Francisco. And as he taught it to me, there was the larger posture and the smaller posture. So the larger posture is what I'll be going through with you today, and the smaller posture for singers is the mouth, the lips, the tongue, the larynx, the jaw, the real subtleties of the singer's posture. So I will include, just because I hope there are singers watching and voice teachers, I will include also, in addition to the video, which is me doing the singer's posture, the singer's larger posture, there will be in the supplemental resources a list basically ticking off what to do for the larger posture and the smaller posture as well. Welcome again to the Singer's Spirit. I'm going to introduce you now to the singer's posture. And what I mean by the singer's posture is the posture of the body that is optimal for good singing. It's also good for a lot of other things, including breathing fully. So I think we might have a guest appearance happening right now, but I don't know that he's going to demonstrate anything all that useful. He's going to lie down. Thank you very much. All right, so it would be nice if you would do this along with me, because I'm going to really go through it step by step. And so if you want to just take a second right now, take your computer, put it up on a bureau or on the refrigerator or somewhere that it can be about eye level. Maybe you have a grand piano lying around, or even better, an upright piano. So take a second to do that now if you'd like. And we're going to build this posture from the feet up, and I'm going to be brave and stand mostly in profile, because that's the way that you can see mostly what's going on. So the first thing we want to start with is the feet, and we want to start with a split stance of one foot in front of the other foot, okay? Split by about a foot's distance, okay? Not too much, not too little. The idea is to improve our balance, and it's the type of stance where if somebody were to try to push you off balance, they would not be able to, okay? So you're going to split your stance like that, and then moving up, we're going to bend the knees slightly, all right? Bending the knees slightly does a few things, but one thing that's very important is it helps the pelvis not to overextend backwards. If I straighten the knees, my pelvis kind of points that way, and it goes back, and that cuts me off from a lot of breath support that I want. So I'm going to bend my knees, go into a slight plie, and I'm going to feel the tailbone going down. I do not want, for singing anyway, a tucked pelvis particularly, but there's a really important point to be made, which is that we are all so used to locking our knees and sticking our butts out that almost anything is going to feel like a tucked pelvis compared to what you've been doing most days. So I'm not overly concerned about an overly tucked pelvis unless you're a gifted Pilates person and you do it a lot. I just want to mention that for singing, I don't know much about Pilates, and I really shouldn't say anything at all about it, so never mind, just cut that out. Don't over tuck the pelvis unless this is you, okay? In which case, go ahead and over tuck it, because you're not gonna. All right, split stance, knees slightly bent, pelvis releasing downward, okay? This also, for singers, my legs could do just about anything at this point. You know, I could sing a lot of Wagner on my legs energy, and great singers talk about that. I believe James McCracken certainly talked about the body. Marilyn Horne talked about how after a big show her legs would be tired and not her throat, and that's the goal, right? Okay, so bending the knees slightly, the pelvis goes down from the hips, which are squared nicely, and it could be either foot, and you do want to have some mobility, so change feet occasionally. I'm going to stay this way because it demonstrates things best. Hips are squared forward. We do want some elongation along the sides of the rib cage, all right? I'm not a big rib cage puffer outer, however. Really be careful if you have been taught, if you're a singer or for any other reason, you've been taught in perhaps military training or certain types of training, physical training, have taught you to, if they have taught you to poke your ribs out, now is the time to elongate the side waist and feel a little flange in the back so that the front ribs do not poke forward. We don't want them poking forward for a nice deep breath, okay? I'll explain why later, trust me for now if you would. So side waists are elongated. And as I just said, we begin to feel a spreading. Think of it as spreading your wings. I don't think there could be a better image than that. So a softening of the front ribs, a spreading of the wings in the back. And I should have mentioned actually at the start that our weight, where our weight is important. What we want is we want our weight evenly divided between both feet, but maybe a little bit forward, okay? But we don't want our weight on the back and that leg locked, that knee locked. Okay, so but you could go either way. You could move in any direction. Your weight is evenly distributed and you feel that center of your weight right there. Okay, so we were just about here with that slight expansion between the shoulder blades. We don't want this, right? I don't want you to slump. I'm 6 feet tall, and when I was in high school, I did not want to be 6 feet tall. So when I first started my vocal training, the teacher had a lot to do to get me to own all 6 feet of me, okay? Now as I'm getting older, I realize I don't want to lose an inch either as I get older, so things do change. But so we don't want to hunch in the shoulders, but at the same time, when opera singers talk about appoggia and appoggiare, we lean into this thoracic cavity a little bit. You do want a little bit of that flange in the back so that there's some compression going here, that this is connected to this. So again, don't poke out the front ribs and do not press the sternum forward. That is not what we want for breathing and singing, okay? So I'm about here. Moving on to the shoulders, as I was just describing, voice teachers have a lot to do when singers walk in, and a lot of times singers walk in like this, and they say, I want to learn how to sing. And the teachers, we say, okay, can you relax the shoulders? But sometimes what happens in the voice studio is that we get on hammering away at something, and we forget that we really shouldn't go too far. There is such a thing as having your shoulders be too relaxed. And because what can happen is if you I have very long, heavy arms. If I overdo the relaxation in my shoulders, I start to get neck tension. And that's no fun at all for a singer. All right, and maybe more importantly, if we're talking about breathing, I'm also, if I over-relax my shoulders, yes, there is such a thing, I'm losing real estate in my lungs. And that's not what I want either. Personally, and I'll be happy to receive all the angry emails from anybody who wants to talk about it, but I like a little lift in the shoulders. Now that I'm not here anymore with tension, I can say to myself or to my advanced students, lift the shoulders a little bit. It'll get you another quarter inch at the top of your lungs, and it'll make you feel a little bit proud, and I think it's a good thing. Tiny lift here. All right, now we get to the very important part of the neck and the head position. And we are all, myself included, spending so much screen time. We're developing as a species this whole computer neck thing, okay? There's my computer neck. And if you have ever read the math on how much the head weighs just by itself and how much more it weighs when you go like this, it's terrifying, all right? It's so much harder on the neck. It's so much harder on the body. It's so bad for your voice. So what we want to do is, I'm going to build back up the rest of the posture here. My shoulders are ever so slightly lifted, just to feel a lightness about my body. And then here's my neck. I actually want to elongate the back of the neck a little bit more. And I want to shorten the front, but it's better to think positively. Don't think shorten, think lengthen. And this, like I was saying about the pelvis, this may feel like a chin tuck to you. It's probably not a chin tuck. It's just not your quotidian, habitual computer head, okay? So elongate the back of the neck, and then the chin comes in a little bit, all right? And if you wanted to have a friend come and pull you up by the ears, or another way to do it is, imagine that your spine goes from your tailbone all the way to the tippy top of your head, okay? That's your spine, even though your spine doesn't go this high. I know you know that anatomically. But imagine now that your spine goes this far and that your spine is a rope, okay, that is kind of kinked and relaxed in places, and someone comes along and the rope goes out the top of your head and they pull on that rope and straighten it so that your spine goes straight. All right? There are a lot of great tutorials out there and Alexander work and people who know a lot more than me. But what I experience when I do that is I do experience a spreading in the back, which is really great. Okay? So I did actually. I think I just grew half an inch just doing it that way. So that's the singer's posture, and now we're going to review it. So if you were just watching, here is yet another opportunity for you to get up. Up. All right, take your computer, put it up on your music stand, on your piano, if you're a singer, your refrigerator, your bureau, a shelf that's about eye height. Okay, hopefully you're in place now, and I'm going to review the posture, and hopefully we can do it together. So I'm going to split my stance about a foot's distance of feet apart, and find a nice balance by going back and forth a little bit. That's also a very nice thing to do. So that you feel like, okay, that's on my heels, that's on my tippy toes. Go a little too far, and come back to the center. All right. Obviously, if you have issues with dizziness, do this near a wall. Bend the knees slightly. Square off your hips. Lengthen your side waist. Soften those pokey ribs. Flange slightly your back. Spread your wings. Lift your shoulders slightly. Elongate the back of your neck so that the front shortens. Your chin, you might have a nice little double chin, which would be just fine. Your head is further back than it usually is. And now you can walk around in this posture to see how it feels. It is the kind of posture where you could put a book on your head and practice it walking around. I don't do that anymore because I have little dogs and it feels too dangerous actually. But if you don't have little dogs running around, take a nice big book and put it on your head and walk around in this new posture and see how it feels. All right. So this is an exercise where it's more of a stretch awareness thing that I actually made this up because I didn't know of an exact duplication of what it is that I wanted to figure out. And this is for feeling individually each of your lungs, feeling how it feels to breathe on the right lung and breathe on the left lung, and especially breathing into the back. So what you do is you just lie down on your side, legs straight out, and then this leg is going to come forward so that the knee touches the floor, and it's pretty far up, but it's not a big stretch. It's just kind of even with your hip or a tiny bit in front of your hip, whatever feels kind of like a nice stretch on your back. And then you're going to go all the way down on the other side. If you don't have room like me, you can get your arm out of the way, try to get your head on your arm, and then this arm is going to reach forward, and the knee is going to kind of slide forward so that you have a nice wide back of your pelvis. And then you stretch this arm out, and in this position I have a pretty nice stretch right through here, right in my right lung on the back, so I'm going to breathe into that lung. And you know, you have to play around with it a little. I think I have my knee too far forward. I'm going to bring it back a little. That's where I can feel it a little more. I'm trying to feel it on that side. So play with this. You may actually be able to feel it more if you're sitting up on the elbow and stretching out like that. It's kind of weird. It's not supposed to be pretty, but that's the idea. Breathe into that back right lung. Let's see if I have any left on the other side. Okay, let knees coming forward, arm is going out, and stretch this one. That's what it is. If the head is on the floor, I find I can get into that lung more. Or you can also place the hand back there, like we've done before. And then I can really feel my left lung. So that's one way. Another way, well, we've talked about quite a few, but if you lie on your belly, then the front ribs become immobilized, and then you can breathe into your back. So let's try that. Okay, hands, forehead on the hands comfortably. That works. That works. Try as I would to ease around the problem, there was no way to avoid imparting the unwelcome information that their method of attaining their military posture was detrimental to breathing efficiency. Mainly, he's talking about the chest being lifted and pressed forward, in particular the sternum or breastbone. So he was working in hospitals in the late 50s and the early 60s, helping emphysema patients and observing what the disease of emphysema did. And here's what he had to say about that. One of the characteristics of the disease of emphysema is the raised chest. In the struggle to breathe, anyone experiencing breathlessness will tend to use the muscles of the upper chest area, the pectoral and the neck muscles, to empty and fill the lungs. This tendency is called accessory breathing, and despite its total inefficiency, it creates the illusion of immediately supplying the body's insistent demand for oxygen. There will be this video that you can watch that shows the ribcage opening and then descending on the exhalation. What we're really trying to do here is have a posture that allows you to allow the natural movement of the ribcage during inhalation and exhalation. The ribcage is not static, nor is any element of the posture I'm describing static. You are a breathing, living being, and your ribcage can and should move during respiration. As usual, we will finish our lesson with our basic breath builder, and I'm going to do it today in this position because I'm right here. So we will do one exhalation on shh, the next exhalation on s, and the final exhalation on singing an ah, whatever pitch you like. And I'll do a cough off right before. And for everyone, please modify your seated position so that your lungs are over your hips or a tiny bit ahead. Do this in a chair if it's more comfortable. And as I have mentioned, if there's any acute respiratory difficulty, simply have a pillow or two pillows in front of you and lean forward and skip the arm movements. So here we go, coughing off.